Hobbies are one of the greatest ways to stay young after 60, not because they magically remove wrinkles, not because they make your knees send apology letters for all the noises they make when you stand up, and definitely not because they turn you back into a teenager. Although if you suddenly start dancing in your kitchen at 8 a.m. because your favorite song came on, we might need to investigate. The truth is, growing older doesn't mean growing old inside. Some people are 75 and full of life. Others are 35 and already acting like they're 120. You know the type. They complain about everything. The weather is wrong. The food is wrong. The chair is wrong. The TV remote is somehow personally attacking them. Meanwhile, there's a grandmother somewhere learning salsa dancing and having the time of her life. Carl Jung believed that the second half of life can be one of the richest and most meaningful chapters of all. And honestly, that's good news. Because if you're over 60, life isn't ending. You're simply entering a season where you finally get permission to enjoy yourself without caring what everybody thinks. Now, before we jump in, I want to ask you something. What is one hobby you absolutely love? Tell me in the comments. Seriously, I always enjoy reading them. You never know what you'll find. One person says gardening, another says fishing, then someone says collecting rubber ducks from different countries, and somehow it makes perfect sense. So let's have some fun today. Because these 10 hobbies do something special. They keep your mind active, they bring joy back into ordinary days, and they remind you that life can still surprise you. Let's begin. Number 1. Art and crafts. Now don't leave just because you think art means painting the Mona Lisa. Nobody is asking you to become the next famous artist. We're talking about simple creative fun. Painting, drawing, knitting, woodworking, making decorations, building little projects, anything that gets your hands moving and your imagination working. Have you noticed how children can sit for hours drawing absolute nonsense and be completely happy? 1 minute they're drawing a dog. The next minute the dog has wings. Then somehow the dog is driving a bus, and they love every second of it. Adults lose that playful side. We start thinking everything has to be useful. Everything has to be productive. Everything has to make money. Sometimes it's okay to create something simply because it's fun. I once heard about a man who started painting after retirement. His first painting looked so strange that even he couldn't explain what it was. Someone asked, "Is that a horse?" He said, "It was supposed to be a tree." But he kept painting. And do you know what happened? He wasn't becoming younger physically, but he was becoming younger emotionally. He laughed more. He looked forward to each day. He felt excited again. And excitement is one of the youngest feelings a person can have. When you're creating, you're not worrying about yesterday. You're not stressing about tomorrow. You're fully present. That's a gift. Number 2. Bird watching. Now this one sounds boring until you actually try it. Bird watching has a terrible marketing department. The name doesn't help. When people hear bird watching, they imagine standing silently for 6 hours staring at a tree. But that's not what happens. Bird watching turns ordinary walks into treasure hunts. Suddenly you're noticing things you never noticed before. Different colors, different sounds, different behaviors. One bird is singing like it's auditioning for a talent show. Another bird is arguing with absolutely nobody, and somehow it's entertaining. The funny thing is, birds are dramatic. Nobody talks about this. They really are. Watch them long enough and you'll see it. One bird steals food, another bird gets offended. A third bird arrives and somehow makes the whole situation worse. It's basically reality television with feathers. But here's why it's powerful. Bird watching pulls your attention away from stress. It teaches you to slow down, to notice, to appreciate. And people who stay curious tend to stay young much longer, because curiosity keeps the mind alive. Number 3. Music and instruments. Let's be honest. Music can transport you through time faster than anything else. One song comes on, and suddenly you're 20 years old again. You remember the dance. You remember the friends. You remember the hairstyle you thought looked amazing, even though the photos later proved otherwise. Music has that power. Now imagine not just listening to music. Imagine creating it, learning piano, playing guitar, trying drums, even learning a few simple songs. Will you become a superstar? Probably not. Will your family occasionally ask you to stop practicing? Possibly. Will you have fun? Absolutely. I know a gentleman who started learning guitar in his 70s. He said the first few weeks sounded like a cat arguing with a lawnmower, but he kept going. Months later, he was playing songs for his grandchildren, and the smile on his face was priceless. Learning music reminds your brain that it's still capable of growing, and nothing feels younger than discovering you can still learn new things. Number 4. Sports and fitness activities. Don't panic. I did not say you need to run a marathon. If running is your thing, wonderful. But we're talking about movement that you enjoy: walking, swimming, dancing, cycling, stretching, pickleball, even chasing your grandkids counts, especially if they're fast, and somehow they always are. 1 minute they're standing next to you. The next minute they've disappeared and are halfway across the park. How do they do that? Nobody knows. Movement isn't about becoming an athlete. It's about reminding your body that life is happening right now. One woman in her 60s started taking dance classes. At first, she felt nervous. She thought everyone would judge her. Instead, everyone was too busy trying not to step on each other's feet. A few months later, she had more energy than she'd had in years, and she made new friends. That's the hidden magic of hobbies. They don't just change your days, they change your social life too. And laughter shared with other people is one of the best anti-aging secrets on earth. Now tell me in the comments, which hobby from this list would you actually try? Art and crafts, bird watching, music, or something active? I want to know. And stay with me, because the next hobbies get even more interesting. One of them might already be sitting right in your backyard without you realizing it. Number 5. Gardening. Now let's talk about gardening, and before anybody says it, yes, plants can be dramatic too. You water them, you give them sunlight, you talk nicely to them, and sometimes they still decide to quit on life. Meanwhile, another plant is growing through a crack in the sidewalk like it owns the neighborhood. Plants are strange. But gardening is one of the most rewarding hobbies you can have after 60. Why? Because it gives you something beautiful to look forward to. Every morning there's a reason to step outside, a reason to check what's growing, a reason to stay connected to nature. And here's something funny. People who garden often start with one small plant, just one. That's how it begins. Then suddenly 6 months later, they're giving everyone plant advice. Their backyard looks like a small jungle, and they're introducing visitors to flowers the way proud parents introduce their children. This one bloomed yesterday. This one is doing very well. This one is giving me attitude. But that's the magic. Gardening creates excitement, and excitement keeps the spirit young. You always have something new to discover, something new to grow, something new to celebrate. And honestly, watching something flourish because of your care feels pretty amazing. Number 6. Baking and cooking. Now we're entering dangerous territory, because talking about food always makes people hungry. So if you're watching this while holding a snack, congratulations, you're already prepared. Cooking and baking are incredible hobbies because they combine creativity, learning, and enjoyment. Plus, at the end, you get food. That's a pretty great reward system. Imagine spending an hour painting. Then imagine spending an hour baking cookies. Only one of those ends with warm cookies. I'm just saying, cooking keeps your brain active. You're learning recipes, trying new ingredients, experimenting with flavors. And occasionally creating something that wasn't exactly what you intended. We've all been there. You follow a recipe perfectly. Everything looks good. Then somehow the final result looks like it survived a natural disaster. Yet somehow it still tastes amazing. And that's a win. One retired gentleman started baking bread after 65. At first he made a loaf so hard that his family joked it could be used as a doorstop. A year later, neighbors were asking for his bread. The lesson: don't be afraid to start badly. Every hobby starts with mistakes. The fun is in the journey. Number 7. Puzzles and games. Now this hobby can get surprisingly competitive very quickly. You sit down thinking you're going to enjoy a peaceful puzzle. Then 3 hours later you're staring at one missing piece, like it's your lifelong enemy. Where did it go? Who took it? Why does life feel unfair? But that's exactly why puzzles are great. They challenge your brain. They keep you focused. They give you little victories throughout the day. And games are even better. Card games, board games, word games, chess, trivia, anything that gets your mind working. One grandmother said she started playing online word games with friends. What began as casual fun became a daily competition. Soon everyone was checking scores, making jokes, sending playful messages. Nobody wanted to lose, especially not to Margaret. Apparently Margaret was unstoppable. The point is simple. Fun keeps the brain active. And active minds tend to stay younger. Never underestimate the power of play. Children know this naturally. Adults often forget. Number 8. Photography. Here's a hobby that changes how you see the world. Photography. Most people walk past beautiful moments every day. A sunset, a smiling face, a funny dog, a colorful flower, a bird doing something ridiculous. Photography teaches you to notice. Suddenly, ordinary things become interesting. You begin looking for beauty everywhere, and that's a powerful habit. One man started photography after retirement. At first, he simply took pictures during walks. Nothing fancy, no expensive equipment, just curiosity. Within months, he was waking up excited to explore new places. Not because the places had changed, because he had changed. He was paying attention again. That's one of the secrets to feeling young. Young people notice everything. Older people sometimes stop looking. Photography brings that curiosity back, and curiosity is youth's best friend. Number 9. Reading. Now let's talk about reading. Books are basically time machines. You can travel anywhere without leaving your chair. One day you're learning about ancient civilizations. The next day you're solving mysteries. The next day you're laughing through a funny story. And all from the comfort of your favorite chair. Reading keeps your imagination alive. It introduces new ideas, new perspectives, new adventures. And let's be honest, a good book is often cheaper than many forms of entertainment. Plus, nobody judges you for reading in pajamas. That's another advantage. One woman said she joined a book club after retirement. She expected to discuss books. What she didn't expect was making new friends. The books brought people together. The conversations became the highlight of her week. And that's another hidden gift of hobbies. They create connection, and connection keeps people young at heart. Number 10. Learning new skills. Now this might be the most important hobby of all, learning something new, anything new, a language, a computer skill, painting, dancing, photography, cooking, anything. The moment you stop learning, life becomes smaller. The moment you keep learning, life stays exciting. A lot of people believe age limits growth. Carl Jung saw things differently. He believed the second half of life was a time for discovering new parts of yourself. Think about that. There may still be talents inside you that you've never explored. There may be interests waiting to be discovered. There may be adventures you haven't even imagined yet. One man learned Spanish at 70. Another learned painting at 75. Another learned how to use social media at 80, although that one came with a warning, because now he spends all day sending funny videos to his grandchildren. And honestly, that's probably a good thing. The point is this: your age does not decide whether you can learn. Your curiosity decides. So here we are. 10 simple hobbies that can help you feel young again after 60. Art and crafts, birdwatching, music and instruments, sports and fitness, gardening, baking and cooking, puzzles and games, photography, reading, and learning new skills. Notice something. None of these require being rich. None require being famous. None require being perfect. They simply require one thing: a willingness to stay curious. Because youth isn't only about age, it's about wonder, it's about laughter, it's about trying new things, it's about waking up and feeling excited for the day ahead. Carl Jung believed that life continues to unfold in meaningful ways as we grow older. And maybe that's the message we all need to hear. You're not too old to begin. You're not too old to learn. You're not too old to laugh. You're not too old to discover something new about yourself. In fact, this chapter of your life might become your favorite one yet. Now, before you go, I have a question. Which of these hobbies do you already enjoy, and which one are you willing to try next? Let me know in the comments. I read them all, and I love hearing your stories. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join our growing community. Take care of yourself. Keep smiling. Keep learning. Keep laughing. And most importantly, keep proving that growing older and growing younger in spirit can happen at the very same time.